Welcome to APMP Practitioner Certification. I'm your presenter today. My name is Brenda Crist. I am a Vice President of Local Consulting. I'm also an APMP Fellow and certified at the professional level. And then a fun fact, I've actually taken practitioner certification twice, once using the old system and the second time using this new test we're going to talk about today. Let's take a look at the agenda. First, talk about APMP certification options, and then how we're going to prepare for the exam. We're going to explain how to take the test, how to succeed on the exam, and after you succeed, how to maintain your continuing education units. So let's start off with an overview of the APMP certification options. First, you'll find the 4 signature certification options. The first being foundation, the second practitioner, the third professional, and the fourth capture. Now, APMP has also introduced 2 micro certifications, and they are executive summaries and bid and proposal writing. And here are the certification badges that you can earn. Eligibility for practitioner certification. There's only 3. The first, you have to be a APMP member in good standing. Second, you have to have completed your foundation certification successfully. And third, you have to have 3 years of experience in the field. So it's pretty easy. So APMP has provided a lot of resources to prepare for the practitioner certification. The first being the Objective Test Evaluation Guide, or the OTE Guide, which is free on the APMP website. The second is an APMP Body of Knowledge, once again available for free on the APMP website. And the third is a sample practitioner exam. Now, I have a little note down here in the corner of the slide. Don't confuse the Body of Knowledge, or the BOK, with the APMP Foundation Study Guide that you bought to practice for earning foundation certification. They're not the same. The APMP Foundation Guide is simply a subset of the BOK. So let's take a look at the OTE guide. I suggest you download it, print it, and read it cover to cover. There are 6 sections. The first one talks about the objectives for taking the test and what they hope you'll learn. How to prepare for the test, how to register and take the exam, the different questions or types of questions that you'll encounter on the test, the cross-reference between the syllabus and the book of knowledge, so you know exactly what to study, and the glossary of terms. Also, there is an Appendix A, which is scenario with some sample questions. So read the guide carefully. It has invaluable tips. So let's find the OTE exam. First of all, let's kind of differentiate it between the foundation exam. The foundation exam was a multiple choice test with 1 correct answer for every question. It was based on facts, and you could easily find those facts in the study guide. However, the OTE exam is a little bit different because they want to assess your knowledge and how you apply it. So they ask you 4 types of questions. First is a classic, and that's simply a multiple choice question, which has 4 options, and you just pick the one that's best suited. Okay. The second is a matching. So you'll see items on the left and the right, and you have to match them up. The other one is a multiple response. So you evaluate this question, and then you'll have 2 answers that are right, and you pick the 2 that are correct. Then you're going to have an assertion region, which is a little bit more complex. So you're going to get a statement, which is an assertion, and then a reason for that. So you have to link the 2. And there's 5 potential responses for that. They can either be both true, neither true, or both 1 true and false. And also, if they are true, you have to explain the reason why the assertion is true. That seems complicated, but we'll get more into that later and show some examples. Take an overview of the test right now. It has 80 questions, and each question is worth 1 point, and you only need 40 out of 80 to pass. So the odds are pretty much in your favor. Now there's 4 primary test topics. On the exam, you'll see the IM topic, which is related to information, research, management, and sales organization, that competency in the body of knowledge. Then you have the PM competency area, which is linked to planning and management, the DV area, which is linked to the development competency, and the BA, which is linked to the behavior and attitude competency. And although you see these 4 acronyms up on the test, they're slightly different in the body of knowledge, but we will reflect on that in the upcoming slides. So let's prepare for the examination. So the first competency area is information research management and sales orientation, or IRMSO. So for this competency, APMP wants you to apply and adapt information research management and sales orientation information, and be able to identify, analyze, and distinguish between appropriate and inappropriate application of the information, also linked to a given scenario. So here's a list of the IRM topics that you'll have to read about in the body of knowledge, including understanding business development, focusing on the customer, managing processes, and using tools and systems. So what I really encourage you to do is read each of these very carefully in the body of knowledge and make sure that you take notes on these things. You might kind of reread them once or twice to make sure you understand them and understand all the terms associated with them. So I'm just going to give you an example on this next slide. If I wanted to learn more about the business development cycle, I'd turn to the body of knowledge and I'd go to the introduction to business development life cycle, as you can see here. And I've also provided a link that you can just copy and paste, and so you can get to the body of knowledge very easily. As you can see, the introduction to the business life cycle, many of you may have remembered this from the foundation exam. It's pretty similar. So let's do a sample IRMSO question. So in this particular case, please identify APMP's business development life cycle in the correct chronological order. So you can either select items A, B, C, or D. So which one is the correct answer? I'll give you a few minutes to read each of these. You'll see that APMP asks a lot of tests that questions that test your knowledge of chronological order and what goes first, what goes next. All right, let's go to the answer here. The correct answer is B, market identification, account planning, opportunity assessment, and opportunity planning. So the next competency area is planning and management, called PLM in the BOK. So your learning objective is to adapt and apply planning and management competencies to a bid and proposal scenario. And your second objective is to distinguish between appropriate and inappropriate planning and management competencies application for a given bid scenario. Here are the topics you're going to want to study. First, there's 2 major topics here: managing the process and using the tools and systems. So under managing the process, you want to read about daily team management, end-to-end processes, lessons learned, production management, internal and external risk management, review management, and virtual team management. And under the systems and tools competency, you want to learn a lot about scheduling and budgeting. So if you were to read on about budgets, here's where you'd find it in the box. So you really want to make sure, once again, you read all these sections once, twice, and take notes. So here's a sample PLM question. So this question is for each question in column 2, match the person who does the work in column 3. So here's the question: who allocates an overall budget to fund B&P? So is it A, the account manager, B, the company executive, C, the bid manager, or D, the proposal manager? Okay, pick one. Let's go on to question 2. Who may work with company executives to set realistic budgets for each B&D project? the account manager, the company executive, the bid manager, or the proposal manager. And finally, who monitors proposal expenditure in comparison to the budget with the bid manager? So once again, either select an option A, B, C, or D. Okay, I'll give you a minute to read that and reflect on that so you can get the correct answer. And here's the answer. Answer 1 was B, the company executive. Answer 2 was C, the bid manager. And answer 3 was D, the proposal manager. I hope you got those all right. Here's the third competency area, which is development. And here are the objectives that you're supposed to obtain. Apply and adapt development competencies to a given bid and proposal scenario, and be able to identify, analyze, and distinguish between appropriate and inappropriate application of the development competencies for a given bid and proposal scenario. So here's the topics you have to study. There are quite a few of them, and they're grouped into 4 major categories focused on the customer, creating deliverables, managing the process, and using tools. As you can see, many of these same areas were covered in the foundation exam, but you'll have more material for the practitioner exam. So let's give you a minute here to take a look at all of these. And of course, the next thing you want to do is go ahead and take a look at these in the VBOK and just read through them a couple of times, take notes. So it happens to be the compliance matrix area. Take a sample question. What are the best practices for developing compliance matrices? There is more than one right answer to this question. In fact, there are 3 in this particular instance. Can you guess which 3 they are? Well, I'll give you a minute here to identify which you think are right. A, the correct answers are A, D, and E. So sometimes these answers can be a little tricky. So it's really important to read very closely and know your facts about compliance matrices. Our final competency area is behavior and attitude objectives. Well, this one was not covered on the foundation exam, but here's the objective that APMP wants you to accomplish. First is adapt and apply behavior and attitude, or BA competencies, to a given bid and proposal scenario, as well as identify, analyze, and distinguish between appropriate and inappropriate application of BA competencies for a given bid and proposal scenario. Here's a list of the topics that you're going to have to study in the VBOK. First one, there's really only 2 major competencies, and it's leading your team and managing the process. So under leading your team, you're going to want to communicate with others and encourage stakeholder engagement. And then we're going to, under the management process, is going to have management processes and procedures for project management, daily team management, quality management, and virtual team management. And if we wanted to look up leadership in the VBOK, here's what we would find, and we want to definitely read this very carefully a couple of times and take notes. So here is a sample BA question, and this is in the assertion and reason format. So let's go over this. So at the top, you see options A, B, C, D, and they're the same for all assertion and reason questions. So you can either answer A, true, and the reason explains the assertion. B, true, and the reason does not explain the assertion. C, true, the assertion is true, but the reason is false. D, the assertion is false, but the reason is true. And E, they're both false. So that can be kind of tricky. So it's good to understand what the differences are in these types of questions. So let's take an example of one. This one has to do with leadership. So let's read it. Leadership has many definitions because it is exercised in so many different contexts. In the context of proposal management, leadership is best and most simply defined by its goals because, and here's the reason, These goals will help leaders provide focus and promote commitment to objectives and inspire team members to successfully achieve their objects. So, how would you answer this question? Would you select option A, B, C, D, or E? So, give you a minute here so you can read this and decide which is the correct answer. Let's take a look at the answer. The answer is A, both true. The reason explains the assertion. All right, let's change topics right now. Let's talk about taking the test. There are a lot of instructions for taking this test, so let's go over a few of them. First, you want to create an account on, or a candidate account on the APMP portal when you register for your exam. And I have a lot of screenshots of this process, which I'll be sharing with you a little bit later. So you want to click next on the exams page to display a calendar and a list of time slots. So you want to select a date and a time that's most convenient to you. So then you're going to click on schedule the exam to book it. Please note that if you see a slot that is grayed out, it means it's unavailable. Just go to the next option. And once you have selected a date, just use your add calendar option to add that one to your home calendar. And please note that once you schedule an exam, if something comes up, you can reschedule it. If you click on reschedule exam next to the add calendar, you can reschedule it up to 2 hours before beginning your exam. So that makes it really quite flexible. That you're going to take is registering for the exam. So make sure before you sit down to register that you have your APMP membership number and your candidate number that you just created. Okay, so here is the website that you go to register for the exam. And the first thing you're going to do is click book the exam, enter your candidate number and other information it requires. And then please note that, for instance, there are special options available if you need more time or English is not your first language. We're going to go over those screens in a minute here. So here you can see here when you choose the examination, the APMG group has lots of different types of certification it supports. So right here you'll find under APMP, the practitioner exam. After one, I'm going to book the exam here. So right here, this starts off the booking process. Here's the price for it. And you can agree to all the terms and then add the exam to your basket. And as you can see, we've booked the exam already and we continue on to provide our details. Now, you'll probably smile when you see this because the details option here, number 3, is very much like the candidate form that you completed when you applied for your foundation certification. And finally, you're going to make a payment. So after you've added your information successfully. Let's talk about test navigation. It is not 100% intuitive, I can tell you that. So I highly recommend that you practice the exam to experiment with the navigation buttons. And you might be able to see multiple questions at one time, but you can only respond to one question at a time. And sometimes that might be a little confusing. And if you try to tab around on the screen using the tab button, it won't work. It might even bounce you out. That was my experience. And also to let you know, there will be tabs popping up on the navigation screen to alert you to the profile or scenario, as well as additional information to help you answer a question of the test to help you. So up here in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see a kind of a time clock right here that is a countdown to tell you how much time you have remaining here. And these are the questions, and you can see as you complete each set of questions, it'll be colored here. And here is the example of a question on the board here. And over on the right, you're going to read the scenario first, and we're going to go over that next. And here are your navigation buttons down here. You can click the previous screen, the next unanswered question. You can finish the exam or once again, click to the next screen here. So I would definitely take the sample test and just practice your navigation. I do want to call to your attention this scenario. And here's what the scenario looks like once you pop this brown colored tab up here. You'll go through it. It has about 5 pages or so of information. And sometimes it comes out where it's very small right here, the font, very hard to see. So if you click on these little A's right here on the text size, you can increase the size so you can read a little bit better. Before we step away from the scenario, I wanted to add a couple of things. This should be the first thing that you read on the test. And I also suggest taking some notes. And because they'll pay dividends later. When I looked at each of these scenarios for these companies that were bidding on the same job, I looked at their strategy, their capabilities, the benefits that they're offering, what proof points they gave to emphasize their benefits and strengths, what gaps they might have in their solution, and their teaming strategy. So I kind of made a matrix, for each company, and it really helped me to answer questions more quickly later. It's really important to track your progress, and APMP, at least the practitioner exam, helps you with that process. It shades different parts of the exam to keep you aware of your progress. For instance, parts shaded in orange have been partially answered, parts in green have been fully answered, and parts in blue borders are currently displayed. So once again, click to the next unanswered button to jump to the next question. And when you're completely finished, you can click on Finish the Exam button. So now we understand what resources we need, how to take the test. Let's talk about succeeding on the exam because it's hard. First of all, manage your time. Here is my clock for managing your time. For the first 10 to 15 minutes, I read and I analyze the scenario. I think it's really important. A lot of the questions are based on it because if you don't have a good understanding of the scenario, then your chances of passing the exam are a lot lower. So I allocate 20 minutes for each of the 6 question types. And then I also allocate 15 to 20 minutes for any additional reading that might pop up on a tab. And then the remaining time I have, I go back and I check my answers and then double check them. Here are some additional tips for succeeding on the exam. Read the OT guide from the front cover all the way to the end. Make sure you understand all the instructions for taking the test. Then do your homework. Prepare well for the examination. Read your syllabus, read all the sections in the body of knowledge, once, twice, take notes. And finally, leave a cushion, track your progress, make sure you have a cushion at the exam, at the end to read all the questions and verify that you made, the correct selection for the answer. Now, I know after going through this process and, really reading and doing your homework that you're going to be successful and pass the practitioner exam. And if you do, you're going to have to make sure that you maintain your continuing education units. After you pass the exam, you must maintain them, and you only have to maintain 20 CEUs every 2 years. And one way to do that is to attend Liberty Chapter events or other events held by other chapters or APMP International. You usually get 1 CEU for every hour of online training or in-person training that you take. So I like to track my CEUs in my profile on the apmp.org website. So you simply click on your picture there. It takes you to your profile, and then you go to your CEU tracker here. And here I have mine. I've done through last August, and I'm doing a great job at maintaining my CEUs. And you can track your progress too. So now that we've come to the end, and I'd like to stop now and first of all, wish you total success in passing the practitioner exam and answer any questions that you might have. If you'd like to address me directly, you can contact me via my email, my phone, or my LinkedIn. So at this point, I'm going to turn it back over to the Liberty chapter, and thank you very much.